Hello, my name is Jack, and ever since I was little, I've loved video games. When I was 7, I was given my first ever console for my birthday, the Wii U, and every day after school I would come home and play games with my brother. For as long as I've been playing games, it has always been a way for me to escape stress and relax. After work or uni, I love getting home and hanging out with friends online for hours. Now that I'm studying consumer behaviour, I've become more aware that the everyday decisions I make when I play video games are intrinsically linked to many insightful consumer behaviour theories that can allow me to further understand the behaviours I and others exhibit when playing video games. I for one know that video games can be addictive. One factor contributing to this is that they are so accessible and easy to pick up. I have noticed that video games have become a big distraction for me and my obligations, especially when it comes to my university studies. This is a prime example of motivational conflict. A motivational conflict is a conflict that arises when someone has to make a difficult choice between two options. When it comes to motivational conflict, there are three types: approach, avoidance, and avoidance. Both approach, and avoidance are described as a choice between two equally desirable or undesirable alternatives, but the one that best applies to this situation is the approach avoidance conflict. This type of motivational conflict is described as a conflict between one desirable option and one undesirable alternative linked to the same choice. The approach avoidance conflict that I face in my everyday life is the choice between the more desirable short-term enjoyment of video games or the less desirable activity of university work, which, though undesirable, brings long-term benefits for my future. When it comes to this conflict, it is easy to choose the short-term enjoyment and avoid the undesirable option for as long as possible. This behavior is commonly known as procrastination, and I often fall victim to this unproductive behavior. Over time, I'm getting better at managing my obligations, and video games have started becoming less of a distraction from my uni work. Instead, it is just another hobby that I use to fill the time and connect with others, which has made me enjoy the time that I get to spend playing even more. When I do finally sit down and play, I often have two goals. Some days I come to relax and play something calming and enjoyable, or I come to play something competitive. This displays both the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations that I face as a gamer, choosing between both personal satisfaction and reward or external validation that competitive games can give me. One of my favourite competitive games that I often play is Valorant. It is a competitive tactical shooter with a growing roster of 28 characters to choose from and play on 17 different maps, each with unique locations and landscapes. As someone who is into competitive games, I am always learning and improving to get better in order to rank up. Improving my movement, aim, and tactics are all important parts of how I enjoy the game. This is highlighted through cognitive learning theory, specifically observational learning. When I'm playing the game, I'm always watching the choices that I and others make. When I die or watch someone else die in the game, I ask myself, why did I die? And what could I or others have done differently in order to succeed next time? This is also an example of reinforcement and punishment, of which there are different types. Negative reinforcement describes the removal of an unpleasant stimulus when the correct behavior is exhibited. On the other side, we have positive reinforcement, which is the introduction of a positive stimulus when the correct behavior is exhibited. These two both serve to increase positive behaviors in participants. On the flip side, we have positive and negative punishments, which are different again. Positive punishment is the introduction of a negative stimulus when an incorrect behavior is exhibited, and a negative punishment is the removal of a positive stimulus when the incorrect behavior is exhibited. These serve to decrease incorrect behaviors instead. These forms of reinforcement and punishment are prominent in video games, especially competitive ones like Valorant. When you die or lose the round, this is an example of positive punishment, which punishes you psychologically for losing. Then you have positive reinforcement, which happens when you get a kill and hear the satisfying kill sounds and effects, which releases dopamine and endorphins, making you feel good. Observational learning also relates to a different consumer behavior theory: social comparison and self-esteem motivation. This theory explains the external influences and motivators that drive people to continue trying and getting better in their craft. In terms of competitive gaming, some external influences can be as big as professional players and streamers, or as small as that one friend who you just can't seem to beat. This is often the biggest motivator for people in all hobbies or professions, striving to be as good or even better as those you look up to. And this is one of the biggest motivators for me when I play games. I would always play with this one friend. We would always compare ourselves to one another, constantly pushing each other to become better. Over time, I kept improving while she slowed down, causing me to lose that sense of rivalry and thus the drive to continue improving myself. This highlights the strength that social comparison had on how I play the game. Now that I've talked about the reasons that motivate me to play video games, we must talk about many factors that could dissuade people from picking up the hobby. One such factor is a concept called level of involvement and perceived risk. The level of involvement and perceived risk describes how personally important or interested you are in consuming a product and how much information you need to make a decision. Additionally, risks associated with the activities can include monetary involvement, time consumption, and more. For me, as someone who spends a lot of time at home due to online uni, there is a small number of activities that I can do, especially on rainy days. For me, gaming is the most engaging activity that I can do while I'm stuck inside on a day like this. I can sometimes struggle to stay focused when watching long movies or videos and enjoy having something to do at the same time. This is a big reason why video games are such a great activity, as it's another activity I can do when I'm not going to the gym or cooking that engages both my mind and my body at the same time. When it comes to cost of playing video games, there is usually a high upfront cost for equipment, but from there the cost can be as low as $0 depending on what games you play. Games like Fortnite and Valorant are free to play and can provide hours of entertainment. For me, playing video games is a no-brainer. This is why I chose video games as my daily activity. Thank you for listening.